The spirit still, as you'll see, is a little bit smaller and works generally like the stripping still does, except now we're just going to put that alcohol that you just saw, only alcohol is going to go inside of here. And now as we heat it up and the pressure starts to build, when the alcohol vapor rises, this column is very thick copper and has very thick plates with channels that goes through. What happens is, as it comes through this channel or this column and tries to rise up, the vapor has a lot of impurities in it, so it becomes very heavy, too heavy to make it through the next one, so it falls. And they have these plates in here, and they're called bubbler plates. All of a sudden, it turns into a liquid again. The alcohol starts to boil very aggressively, and all the bad and impurities drop back down into the belly of the still, while the lighter, pure alcohol now rises to the second plate or the second distillation. So you can see on here, we have 6 different plates. That means we do 6 times distillation. As it goes to the top, we cool it once again through the chamber and we condense it. But as we're bringing it out this time, we're going to bring this out at about 143 proof. That's where we get ethyl lactate, which gives us a creamy, heavy flavor in your tongue, and all the flavor is in this rum and the Demerara crystals. Now, if I would have used molasses, I would have had to distill it around about 170 proof to have a clear rum that's not smoky and actually not bitter. Now you say, wow, that's a lot of proof. 143 sounds like a lot of high proof. By law, 190 proof is what you have to distill vodka at to be legally vodka. But we also call it a neutral spirit. So the higher the proof means the less flavor. So with the cleaner sugar, I'm able to distill it at a lower proof and get all these flavors out. That's why we're able to produce a rum that's very smooth, very clean, and actually is not going to get you a hangover. And that, with the stripping still, I probably got about 85% of these oils out. So the last step I'm going to do is that pot you're going to see hanging here in the distillery with some copper pipes on it. We're going to take a look at that because that's the final process in our filtering. This pot holds about 60 gallons of our high-proof rum. You'll see copper pipes here on the side. They're filled with activated carbon coal. We put the rum in there and it filters through. These pipes actually get warm to touch. Now, what happens is the alcohol tries to find the least path of resistance. And as it's going through, that activated carbon grabs the oils but does not disturb the flavor of the rum. This is stuff from the 30s and the 40s of the guys that really like to make really high quality rum. They filtered it like this to get rid of the oils out of it and stuff. And they were very well known because they had the cleaner rum. You kind of drank it and didn't make that face and have all that horrible taste in your mouth. So once we get done there, then the journey for the rum kind of goes to a lot of different places. We have our base rum, which is our legal rum. We kind of call that the mom of the distillery. Now, alcohol gets cut with spring water, or we use reverse osmosis here to clear up. We bring it down to our desired 80 proof. But before that, if we're not going to make it clear and we're going to flavor it, we might add to the high proof at the finishing part of the run key limes, or burnt vanilla with Demerara sugar and vanilla bean. Or we might go over here and we might decide to put it in the barrels. But the barrels are a little bit different because the barrels are what give it its color. No matter if it's whiskey, rum, vodka, any alcohol comes out of a still, comes out clear. Well, let's go take a look at these barrels because they're very unique and we're doing something that nobody else quite does. These barrels are American oak. They have a number 3 char, which is like a medium char. They're new barrels, even though they don't look very new. It's because the general rule of thumb in distilling is you take your barrel, you fill it up with fresh water, and then you let it swell and you drain the fresh water out. Now, me being a cook, my theory is you're putting fresh water into something. Fresh water in cooking is your biggest enemy. I wouldn't cook a steak after soaking it in water for 24 hours and put it on the grill and expect to have a great flavor. This is what holds up getting all the flavors out of this water. What do I mean by that? Well, there's banana oil, there's fig, there's plum, there's all sorts of different things in this type of wood. So what we do is we take it and we bring it right down the street and we fill it up with ocean water. Once we fill it up with ocean water and it swells, we drain all the ocean water out of it, and inside we get a salt residue. Once we can get that salt on the inside, the fresh water is now all dried out. Now we've basically cured the barrel, just like you would for beef jerky or salmon or anything. You're extracting all the fresh water. Now you're left with a lot of flavor. And remember, we just made a 143 proof rum that's really clean and drinkable already. Now we put that in this barrel, well, we're not going to have to wait a couple of years to have a really good quality dark rum. Depending on the weather, the summer, the heat, the expansion and contraction, probably in about 7 months we'll be ready to drink this. Nobody else does this in the world. The reason we can do it is we're utilizing all of our resources. We have our local Demerara sugar. We have techniques that are only used by a chef and then turned into distillation. We also have our seawater, which is right down the street, which we have an excess of that we can bring over and do with our barrels. And that salt and those minerals actually lower the pH value in the rum, which smooths it out and gives it a very unique taste, which we've had people from all the big distilleries come in and say how much they love it. But you'll notice one thing, we don't have dates and ages, and we don't describe our rum as a specific year age. It's called raw and unfiltered because I have to take the rum out, cut it with spring water, and then I just don't filter it. The reason I don't filter it is it would remove a lot of those flavors out of it. But when is it ready? It's ready when we say it's ready. So everybody gets to come in and we kind of taste test, and when we figure a barrel's ready, that's when we go to bottle it. So it's kind of like we use a lot of history and a lot of old school in what we do, but we bring things together with science, cooking, and some modern times to get us what we want. And that's basically our story at Chef Distilled. I hope you've learned a little bit of something. You come back for a full tour and we'll show you a little bit more. But take a walk out front, do a tasting, and remember, you're in Key West, you're getting a product you can only get here. Local is where it's at. Thanks for coming in.